I've been involved with this industry for many, many years. Maybe longer than some of you have even been alive. It's terrible to think about, yuck. But please believe me when I tell you that the new owners for the LA Haunted Hayride, the company that Play Productions has teamed up with, these guys are no joke. Who are they? Well, they only happen to be the largest Halloween-themed entertainment company in the world. 15 major Halloween events spread throughout our country, and the LA Haunted Hayride is their first event in California. So now let's get into some of those juicy details on what people can expect to see at the event this year. We were all very interested in creating a new story driven by character aspects involving interactivity, immersion, and a compelling story that will engage our guests. So how do we do that? We create a town, the town of Midnight Falls. So let's bring up that next video.
You're listening to MFAN Radio Midnight Falls. We are extremely excited you'll be joining us for the annual Halloween Festival. New for 1985, we'll have live entertainment, a hayride, and maybe a few frights, because it's always Halloween here in Midnight Falls.
Traditional harvest time, but Midnight Falls is celebrating its 13th annual Halloween festival, and you are all invited. But you'll find that things are a little bit off, because in Midnight Falls, it's always Halloween night. It's always celebrating its 13th annual Halloween festival, and it's always 1985. So just as with any kind of small town, things kind of revolve around the town square, right? And Midnight Falls is no different. This is where the heart of the Halloween festival is taking place, but things are offsetting. Things are weird, frightening, as if everything's caught in a bizarre and horrific episode of The Twilight Zone. And that all spreads out to the surrounding 4 main attractions that we'll get into, because everything at the event ties back to the terrifying secrets and story of Midnight Falls, especially its residents. So John, or all of us, let's talk a little bit about what people can expect when they arrive to the event and what they might expect to experience inside the town square.
So the town square is the epicenter. This is where the celebration is happening. So like Ted was saying, the 4 surrounding attractions all feed back into this town. But at any time you can go out into the town square and celebrate and have fun with our characters. I don't know if anybody's had the chance to interact with our characters. If anybody's here, they might have had a dance party with a werewolf and a mullet. Anybody? No? A couple of you? No? So the characters there are the different creatures of the town. They represent the different attractions or different establishments that you can find throughout the town. And they're there to immerse you deeper into the story. So one of the things we want to do is to be able to go out, interact with them, and get clues that tie deeper and deeper into this mysterious town.
Exactly, and those roaming characters throughout the town square really kind of represent like the pantheon of gods for small town USA. We've got like the politician, the gossipy PTA soccer mom, the blue collar workers, the entitled football star and the cheerleader and the beauty queen, but these characters will be scary. But for those looking for a deeper experience, can engage these characters and learn about Midnight Falls and maybe about the residents and the town itself, and maybe some of its secrets. So those are some of the things that people can experience inside the town square. As we mentioned earlier, there'll be 4 main attractions, 3 walkthroughs, and then the hayride itself. The first walkthrough attraction we're going to talk about really kind of represents that dark and spooky house at the end of the street, standing there ominous. We know the kind, right? You know, strange noises are heard coming from inside late at night. The Midnight Falls neighbors are always complaining, wondering what in the heck is going on inside that house. And it does contain very dark secrets in the Midnight Mortuary. Let's talk about the Midnight Mortuary. Well, the idea behind it is it's been owned and operated for 75 years by the Marlowe family, and they're kind of weird, but the residents kind of tolerate them. What the residents don't know are the deep and dark, terrifying secrets deep inside this house, maybe responsible for some of the things going on in Midnight Falls.
Definitely responsible for some of the bodies turning up in their mortuary, right? But what we wanted to do with these 4 attractions is, since there's only 4, we wanted to make sure they are all vastly in different feel. So this is our standard haunted house attraction where you're walking through. The whole thing's scenic out. We actually brought in a company you might have heard of, Sinister Point, to kind of help us with some of the production into this maze. So they're going to be coming out. We're going to be building an entire maze, ground up, subfloored and everything. And this is our more traditional haunted attraction.
Yeah, exactly. The genesis really was, we were just trying to say, all right, let's try to make it like a haunted house, just a traditional haunted house. But then the deeper we got into the story of Midnight Falls, we're like, okay, let's try to make this fit in, and then nothing's really more macabre than a really evil type of mortuary, right? Late at night, so.
Yeah, if any of you have been by the booth at the entryway of the show, it's funny, if you're listening to the radio announcements out there, the one that cracks me up is about Midnight Mortuary and going shopping there, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because within the story at the event, Midnight Mortuary is offering open house tours. So that way people can come and check out what they've got going on, and that's part of the fun in the Halloween festival. So our next walkthrough was really inspired by an attraction featured at the LA Haunted Hayride for several seasons, but now it has the Midnight Falls kind of twist to it. And the visitors attending this attraction will discover that the Midnight Falls residents have a disturbing way of taking in the spirit of Halloween in Trick or Treat. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about how Trick or Treat really kind of began? Because it really did capture such a fun spirit, the Halloween type of spirit.
It did. That was that suburban soccer mom neighborhood I talked about when I talked about how we started the Hayride. It was this, for me, I loved the way it felt, right? Like, I loved being in this neighborhood, and I loved the trick-or-treaters, and I just loved the vibe that was happening in town. So, I mean, probably 5 years after the Hayride started, maybe 6 years, we'd been playing with some other themes there. There was something called the Seven Sins Sideshow one year, and House of the Horsemen. There were some different things that we were playing with. And we were sitting at a roundtable creative team meeting, and I think at one point we were out of ideas, and we couldn't think of something that just grabbed us. And I thought to myself, I think we're just overthinking this. Like, trick or treat. Like, let's let people trick or treat every day, all October long. And so it started there, and then I became like this freight train around, how to create this town around trick or treating, and how we could thematically, make each house different. We could make each inhabitant of the house different. We could create like an ambiance in the town with lots of pumpkins, and really make it feel like something that gave you the essence of Halloween outside of an attraction standpoint, but in the trick-or-treating kind of vein, right? So a Halloween attraction where you actually could trick-or-treat, to me, sounded like something that would be fun and would make a lot of sense. And it's been a fan favorite ever since we did it. I don't think we could get rid of it now if we wanted to. So I'm excited to see Johnny's fresh take on it. I think it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, going to the Hayride as a fan, I was always blown away that you always see something that you haven't experienced before. And Trick or Treat was always one of those things that was amazing to me. I'm like, how did nobody think of this before? It's so good. So when we decided we want to sit down, we put a lot of love into this one. It's a super fun attraction. We're building all brand new houses. They're all themed, and our twist on it is this is the house where this is the neighborhood where the monsters live, but they're also celebrating Halloween. So these monsters are dressed up like other monsters. And all their houses are themed to the core monster, but they're decorated like the monster that they're portraying. So it's a really, really fun attraction that really captures the essence of Halloween. And I don't know if we have any home haunters in here. Anybody that does their own home haunt yard display? Well, we're huge fans of all the home haunts out there, so we wanted to pay a little homage where you can go and you're gonna enter one of our houses through the garage and go through their home haunt. A super, super fun experience.
Yeah, it's definitely a tribute to our love of the home haunters. Now, on the outskirts of the Midnight Falls town square, there's like this kind of dingy farmhouse, but they are operating a business, and they're in the business of keeping the Midnight Falls highways and local interstate free from deceased vermin in the Roadkill Ranch.
This is where shit gets crazy. So when we went and visited the property, I've only been up there during the hayride, but we went up and we're like, that's where that dark maze is? That's sketchy up there. So we really leaned into that, where if you really feel like you're out in the woods and you're hearing stuff behind you come out of the tree, you're like, what the shit? So we wanted to create this open air experience where you're guided more through hay bales and corn stalks. There's a lot of walls and scenic work, but we wanted you to feel like you're truly out in the middle of nowhere. And then on top of that, we're unleashing, of course, a bunch of crazy roadkill attendants with chainsaws to be chasing you through the whole thing. So this is definitely like the heavy metal rock show of the entire experience.
Right, so far we've got the Midnight Falls Town Square celebrating the 13th annual Halloween Festival. We've got the dark and spooky house at the end of the street with the Midnight Mortuary. We've got the Midnight Falls neighbors out trick-or-treating, and then we've got the weirdos over at the Roadkill Ranch. And so now we're at the main event, the hayride itself. And of course, Midnight Falls is offering fun hayrides underneath the moonlight and cruise the local foothills and celebrate Halloween. But of course, it's out there in that darkness. It's the epicenter on what's causing the evil in Midnight Falls. And the hayride experience really kind of begins out in the queuing area. And you're getting a taste of it right now out on the show floor from Midsummer Scream.
Yeah, so if anybody stopped by our booth, you've seen the gas station, as you can see here in the artwork as well. This is one of the actual set pieces that you will find out at the attraction. And this is where you're gonna board onto the hayride experience, where you're going to the woods, and what could go wrong, right? But also, we really wanted to really theme it out to really immerse you into the experience you're about to embark on. And we created different little vignettes to really set that up, including the radio station. And each attraction, I don't know if you mentioned this, each attraction you will hear that radio station playing that always ties everything back to centralize it to Midnight Falls. The voice might have sounded familiar, Ted, right?
Me.
So, you get to go and you get to see the radio broadcast as he's giving his spiel, as well as some other fun vignettes throughout the area to get you ready for your hayride. We have visited the hayride multiple times. We're big fans of it. We think it's very innovative and very creative. So we have definitely kept around some of the things that we really loved and appreciated and tried to build on top of some of those things. You're not going to stop in the middle of it, but we are going to have the hayride conveniently break down, and the only exit to get out is through the vampire 80s party in the cemetery. Yeah, everything's tied to each other. Everything is done with intent. So the Midnight Mortuary is going to tie into Trick or Treat, and the hayride, is going to tell the story of what's going on in the entire town. So everything is tied together to really create that immersion. We're looking at scaring, instead of one person at a time walking through a tight hallway, you have to scare a hayride full of X amount of people all at once. So just kind of re-looking at how to make those scares the most effective as possible, but also we're approaching this like a ride to make it entertaining, to make it cohesive from start to finish. So yeah, it's been different, but the same at the same time, but just making sure that we're approaching it more like a standard ride with scares built in, opposed to a walkthrough attraction.
Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out today. We are so excited for you guys to check out Midnight Falls at Griffith Park. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.